Hello and welcome to Dingoes Ate My Podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.
Alrighty, so this week we are discussing the season 4 premiere of Angel. What was this one called? Shit. Deep Down. This episode originally aired October 6th, 2002, attracting approximately 4.57 million viewers. Alrighty, so let us start off with the number one movie in America. So quickly, before we get to what it is this week, we're going to quickly go through what happened over the summer. Oh boy, this was a big summer.
Yeah.
Okay, so in June, we had The Sum of All Fears, Scooby-Doo, Minority Report, and Mr. Deeds. That's a pretty strong June.
Yeah, yes it is.
Now let's move into July, where we get Men in Black 2, Road to Perdition, Austin Powers, and Goldmember.
Yeah.
Then in August, we get Signs, Triple X, that one. And then in September, we get Swim Fan, which I'm not familiar with, Barbershop, which is a great film, and Sweet Home Alabama.
There we go.
So that's a pretty strong lineup for the summer. Now, what would be your guess for the number one movie of the week of this episode?
Getting around
October 2002.
Getting with that stuff.
I would be a little surprised if you're familiar with this movie. Because it's sort of it's tied to a very famous film, but this one isn't as well known.
Oh. There wouldn't be any sort of sequel and or prequel sort of thing. It's just sort of has a relation to it, but
I'm not sure if it's a sequel or a prequel because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. Well, the one particular one that I had in my head was just with time frame that we were kind of sitting at and just heading into the spooky season. The thought was one of the Harry Potter movies, but it probably would have been a couple more years before the second one came out.
The second one actually does come out this year, but not for a little while yet.
Okay.
Those came out closer to Christmas. So the number one movie this week was Red Dragon.
Yes, because I have a picture of it, but it's mixed in with a bunch of other things.
It was one of the Hannibal Lecter movies, and I don't know if it's a sequel or a prequel to Silence of the Lambs.
Okay.
I don't remember, and I didn't look it up.
Yeah.
Alright, so let's move over to music. So, I'm not gonna lie. Everybody I'm sure who's listening knows that I know nothing about music. So, I'll just list a bunch of songs that came out and pretend that I know what they are.
And possibly my reaction when he mentions them.
Okay, so when we left off, the number one song in America was still Foolish by Ashanti. It was then overtaken by Hot in Here by Nelly.
No, that's understandable.
And then in August/September, we had Dilemma by Nelly featuring Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
And for the number one song in America this week, what was your guess?
Again with that. And again, the one particular one that actually is surprisingly enough stuck in my head in some weird back corner. Again, going with those.
This kind of surprised me because I didn't think this was a 2002 song. This feels more like 2005 to me.
Okay. Well, it might have also been a case that it was the thing that came up and that we were listening to in some sort of case or...
No, this would have been something I would have heard in probably a movie or something.
Oh, it might have also been that as well.
Yeah, that's probably why it feels like it's a few years from now for me. But any idea?
Nah, not specifically. That's a bit too vague. And not being super good with names or titles of songs.
So the song is A Moment Like This by Kelly Clarkson.
Oh no, that's completely understandable.
Which I feel like the only reason I know that song is because it was probably in a lot of movies.
Oh, I would not be surprised.
And TV shows, Anyway, moving right along to video games, which, god damn, this summer would have made me poor. I'm gonna just hit the highlights because if we talk about every game on the list, we'll be here for like 3 hours.
Yeah, well, depending. Subscribe and Get ready for more if you're interested for us discussing about this.
Okay. So we got through to the end of May last episode. So, the 1st of June, if you had an arcade near you in 2002, which I don't know how many people still did, you could go play the House of the Dead 3.
Ah, yes.
June 3rd, we got a few games. So on the original Xbox, we got Dead to Rights.
Ah, yes.
On the PS2, we got UFC Throwdown.
Nah.
We also got a game called Endgame, which I'm not familiar with.
There's a couple particular end games, so that's kind of a bit vague.
It's on the
Which
PS2.
one that is?
I don't know. June 5th, if you were still rocking a PS1, you could play Digimon World 3. June 6th, if you had the original Xbox, you could pick up The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. June 10th, on the Xbox, you could get Outlaw Golf. June 12th, on the Game Boy Advance, you could get Mega Man Battle Network 2.
Ah, yes.
We're going to skip a few things here. Okay. June 23rd, these are all on the PS2. MLB Slugfest 2003, Stuntman, and Mike Tyson Heavyweight Boxing. On the 24th, Sky Gunner and Barbarian. Those are separate games. It's not one game called Sky Gunner and Barbarian, which sounds like it would be real good.
That'd be a kind of interesting mix of styles, I'm sure.
July 3rd, if you were a PC gamer, you could pick up Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos.
Ah.
Oh, like I said, this was a hell of a summer. July 22nd, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up that version of Smuggler's Run, which I need to play that because that sounds shite. If you had a PS2 on July 30th, you could play Virtua Tennis 2. What else did we get? So in August, you would get your typical Madden and NFL games. A whole bunch. There were so many NFL franchises going at this time because EA had Madden. There was NFL 2K3, NFL Blitz 2003, and NFL Game Day 2003.
Yeah, pretty much everyone and their grandma trying to get in on them games there.
Yes. On August 18th, if you had the original Xbox, you could pick up Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, there you go.
Who knew? August 20th, if you were still rocking the N64, you could pick up Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. On August 25th, if you had a GameCube, Jesus, were you in for a good time here. On the 25th, you could get Super Monkey Ball 2.
Ah, yes.
And if you waited till the next day, on August 26th, you could get Super Mario Sunshine.
Ah, yes. The actual Mario experience to come to the GameCube at the time.
Yes. August 26th, if you had a PS2, they kind of hit back pretty good here against Nintendo. They were like, oh, we'll just release SOCOM US Navy SEALs and then Twisted Metal Black Online.
There you go.
That's a hell of a counterpunch. Let's skip that. Oh, okay. So, September 10th, if you're a PC gamer, things were about to change for you. You could go to the store and pick up this little game called Battlefield 1942.
Ooh.
Yes.
Ooh.
September 15th, if you had a GameCube, you could pick up Animal Crossing.
Ah, yes. The first introduction for people here in the States and whatnot for Animal Crossing.
Yes, it was. And I friggin' love that game. September 17th, if you had a GameCube, you could get Crash Bandicoot, The Wrath of Cortex. On September 23rd, if you were a PS2 player, you could pick up Jesus, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus.
Yes.
I'm not done. This was a hell of a day for PS2. They also got Tekken 4, Summoner 2,
yes.
Tribes Aerial Assault, and Dual Hearts. I'm not familiar with some of those, but Sly Cooper and Tekken. That's a hell of a day.
Indeed.
September 24th, if you had a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up Super Mario Advance 3 Yoshi's Island.
Oh, there you go.
If you also on the 24th, if you on the PS2, you could pick up Super Bust a Move 2, which seems like a weird game to have on a PlayStation, but okay. Okay. On the 24th, if you had an Xbox or a Game Boy Advance, you could pick up The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Ah, yes.
Where else? What else do we have? Oh, okay. So on September 27th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up Run Like Hell, which is a game that I remember seeing advertisements for but never played.
Yeah, like I hardly even remember it. Yeah, not even a blip on my radar.
Okay, on September 30th, if you had a PS2, you could get Burnout 2 Point of Impact. Such a good game. This was a hell of a year. On October 1st, if you had basically any platform, you could get Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2.
There you go.
If you had anything but a GameCube, you could get Hitman 2 Silent Assassin.
Yeah, it makes sense.
October 4th, if you were in Europe, you could finally get Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh, there you go.
And for the games that came... October 8th, you could get on the GameCube Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee.
Ah, yes. So much fun with the kaijus and the destroying the things.
And then there were some basketball games on the PS2. And finally, on the day this episode came out this week, here's what came out just this week that this episode came out.
Yeah.
So, October 9th, on the PS2, you got two bangers from memory. Actually, the one I don't remember that well. But, one, Time Splitters 2.
Ah, yes.
The other one was Evolution Skateboarding, which if that's the game I'm thinking of, it was quite good.
Ah.
But I might be getting it confused with another game. Let's take a quick peek here. No, I must be thinking of a different game. This is not the game I'm thinking of. Anyway, moving back to what came out this week. What else do we have? Oh, yes. October 15th, if you had a PS2, you could pick up this little game called Red Faction 2.
Ooh, yes.
Excuse me. Also on the PS2, on the same day, you could pick up Blood Rain.
Ooh.
Or if that wasn't your thing, also on the PS2, you could get The Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring.
Ah, yes.
And finally, they didn't leave you out if you're a PC gamer, because on October 15th, you could pick up Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Oh, man.
That is a hell of a summer.
It is.
God dang.
I have vague flashes of it. And pretty much the only one thing on that list I even remember was Super Mario Sunshine. Because that was the only one game I could get out of the collection.
That was a hell of a summer, because you've never really been a PC gamer.
Not too much. It's only just been now that I've been dabbling. But even then, it's only been the one or two games. And even then, it's mostly just from indie selections I found on Steam.
I was going to say, Dave, you're not a PC gamer because your PC barely functions.
It's just because it's old and it can stand to be updated.
Old is an understatement, but let's move on. Okay, so let us talk about Deep Down.
Yes, with this particular episode coming from last season.
Yeah, so some stuff happened in this episode. So we start off with quite a nice little scene here where we see Angel, Cordelia, Gunn, Fred, Connor, Lauren, and Wesley all sitting around a table enjoying a happy meal together.
Thanksgiving dinner, woo!
As the plates are passed around the table and Angel is ignored, things start to change. In reality, a physical weakened Angel is still in his watery prison.
You know, hallucination. Yay!
There's a few. Okay, so we see Fred and Gunn running back to Gunn's truck, trying to escape vampires. One crashes through the windshield. Fred and Gunn eventually end up asking if the vampire gang about a girl named Marissa, but the vampires aren't actually interested in talking. After giving up what could be accurate information about Marissa, the vamps attack. Several of the vampires are slain, and Connor jumps in just in time to save Fred from a flying axe, which is pretty cool.
I think it was to save him with a flying axe.
No, Connor caught the axe that was about to hit Fred.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Back at the Hyperion Hotel, Gunn and Fred lecture Connor about the dangers of his wild actions, despite the fact that they're all still alive. In the office, Fred talks about their efforts to look for Cordelia and Angel and how little success they've had over the past 3 months.
Yeah.
Angel stands atop the cliffs where he was meant to meet Cordelia. This time she arrives and the two discuss their feelings for each other, even though Angel realizes this isn't how it happened. As the two kiss, Angel's hunger takes over and he starts feeding on her. Underwater, Angel wakes up screaming. So he's having a good time down there.
You know, all those marvelous hallucinations.
Connor finally finds out that Gunn and Fred have another lead into Angel's whereabouts, and he's not pleased that they didn't tell him earlier. Fred agrees to let him tag along as they check out the potential location for Marissa. While Connor's out of the room, Gunn and Fred argue about the tough situation they are in with the hotel, the business, and the struggle to find Angel and Cordelia. Both know that if this lead doesn't pan out, they'll be at a complete dead end. And since the only two author options are Wolfram and Hart and Wesley's already refused to help twice. We see Wesley and Lila in bed together, and she attempts to get information out of him when he's like, I don't fucking know anything, you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
We find out that he has Justine chained up in a soundproof room in his apartment. That's not creepy at all.
Yeah, no.
He takes her to help look for Angel because he has a boat somehow. And it's not like a little speedboat. He has like a fucking like fishing boat.
Pretty much breaking the wall as it is from there. They most likely rented the boat and they had the 2 scenes for taking Angel out and then heading up to pick him up again.
Connor kicks in the door of the building where the gang hopes to find Marissa. He finds her and grills her about the cliffs where Angel last went, but Connor lets her escape. He runs after her and kills her before Gunn and Fred shows up. He cuts himself with a stake and pretends that she attacked him when the others arrive. Angel finds Connor on a tall rooftop and they start to talk before a group of vampires interrupt them. Angel and Connor fight and kill them all, and then Angel snaps Connor's neck. In his underwater coffin, Angel wakes and starts to scream again. Because again, he's having a good time down there.
All those lovely hallucinations and whatnot, driving him fucking insane.
Fred finally reaches Lauren in Vegas, but he says that he's very busy and doesn't have any new information to share with her. Because he's a star, somehow.
You know, he has his feelers out there. He's doing what he can, but he has to get that other business out there. And, honey, they're here to see the greed. Stop out of my face.
But, like, how did he become a celebrity?
Well, on the one hand...
He's a demon.
Because on the one hand, some people know, and they're okay with it. He sings very well. And on the other hand, it's interesting costuming and whatnot. As long as they don't know the truth, it's all good.
At Wolfram and Hart, Linwood, Lila, and Gavin talk as Linwood praises Gavin's latest findings. Lila realizes that they know about her and Wesley, and she tries to offer an explanation, but Linwood isn't interested. Wesley finally detects metal on his sensor and sends Justine down to check it out. It turns out to be Angel, and they raise the coffin from the ocean. Wesley opens it and frees Angel's arms, only to have Angel wake and catch Wesley's throat in a death grip. However, Angel is very weak, and Wesley is able to lower his arm back down as he explains to Justine that while vampires can live forever without feeding, prolonged starvation can cause brain damage. Wesley slowly feeds Angel animal blood while Justine taunts him, reminding him that Angel and the rest of the team hate him and they will never take him back. Which, I mean, yeah, they do. They do hate you, Wesley. Connor returns to the hotel to find Fred and Gunn worried and waiting for him. Connor gets testy when Gunn suggests Connor is like his father. On the boat, Angel hallucinates that Lauren is on the boat with him as Wesley comes below deck to check on Angel's progress. Angel sees Connor instead of Wesley, and Wesley realizes that the animal blood isn't returning Angel's strength fast enough, so he cuts his own arm to feed Angel. Before a meeting, Lila absentmindedly strokes the top of Linwood's chair. As the meeting begins, Linwood asks a room full of lawyers about Lila and her future at the firm due to her failures regarding Angel. Lila responds that while she may have failed on numerous occasions, she was never afraid of Angel, and she announces that she's the one that spoke with his senior partners. And Linwood demands from Lila, "You went over my head." Lila says that, well, more like under it. And then with a touch of a button, Linwood is beheaded and Lila becomes the new boss. She asks Gavin to remove the head.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Ooh.
a cool move. Like, she just like, boop. It's great.
Yes.
Fred brings Connor a sandwich, and they talk as he eats. Unexpectedly, Fred promises him great suffering for what he did to his father and subdues him with a stun gun. Downstairs, Fred speaks angrily to Connor as he's tied to a chair. She and Gunn reveal that Wesley called and informed them about finding Angel, and that Connor was behind his disappearance. And they accuse him of also disposing of Cordelia. Meanwhile, Wesley buckles Angel into a car and leaves Justine handcuffed to the pier, telling her that she can continue to be a slave or have her own life. Back at the hotel, Connor argues with Fred and Gunn that Angel is not his father and does not regret his actions. Wesley carries a weakened Angel into the hotel, and after making sure he's okay, Gunn and Fred demand to know why he didn't tell them what was happening or warn them about Connor. Wesley doesn't offer much of an explanation and just leaves. Then a noise is heard in the office, drawing Gunn and Fred's attention. Having broken free of his restraints, Connor knocks Gunn down and shocks Fred with a stun gun, but as he turns around, Angel is standing in front of him. Angel orders Connor to sit and explain to his son the truth about Holtz's death and Angel's lack of involvement in it. Realizing he's in trouble, Connor attempts a getaway, but Angel isn't done yet and throws Connor to the wall. After making sure that he had nothing to do with Cordelia's disappearance, Angel tells Connor with a parting lecture about life and an admission of love to leave, which he does immediately. After he does so, Angel nearly collapses with Fred and Gunn urging him to rest. But Angel's main focus is now finding Cordelia. Meanwhile, in a higher dimension, Cordelia bemoans her boredom.
Yeah, just the fact that, oh man, I don't have too much choice, but I'm in this new dimension. God, it's boring up here.
Yes. So, what did we think of this episode?
Oh boy. Well, at the very least, yay, Wesley does something to save Angel, to help out with all this particular stuff. It just, the little hint you gave last week was kind of the case of, like, there's a whole bunch of people, but there's nothing that concretely points to anybody. Like, how the heck is Angel going to get out of this? And just, bring out Angel's ridiculously long rap sheet of how much torture he's been flipping through.
Yes. So, I think it's fun. This is the, Fred uses Angel's little, gauntlet stake things.
Yes.
We don't see those often enough.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's used, Angel's used them maybe, 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, there's been times, but nothing super concrete or immediate to him. Just a case of, he's mostly just kind of been in fist fights and handed a stake and used for that. There hasn't been the cuffs too much. But it just worked perfectly within that scene. She had her bow and was held down for a second. It's like, what are you going to do without your toy? You think that's my only one?
Yeah, it's a great moment, and it makes perfect sense for Fred to have something like that, more so than Gunn, because Gunn is more.
He's more capable.
Well, also he's more just physical strength, whereas Fred's more intellect, right? It would make sense for her to have a bunch of gadgets and stuff.
Yes.
Alrighty, so let us move on to international titles. We actually have a bunch this time.
Ooh.
So there's a bunch of them though that are either at the bottom or in the depths, or depth or deep or something along those lines.
Yeah,
we're gonna skip over those ones. Kind of. So in Finnish it translates, and this is probably my favorite. In Finnish it translates as "prisoner of the depths."
Oh, there you go.
That's pretty good. In French it translates as "in the abyss." And in Hungarian, this might be the most on point one. It translates as "low point."
Yeah. And I think the one biggest thing about pretty much all the titles is that it gives the decent double meaning of most everything within the episode. Of just the fact that, Angel was kind of pushed down to the bottom of the ocean and he's kind of been down there for a bit, but it's just everyone's kind of low point from what happened from the last season heading into this one and kind of seeing how things go from there.
Oh, Dave, if you think this is the low point, I've got bad news for you.
I would not be surprised, but just sticking with how the episode is going, it gives a good representation.
Yes, absolutely. I will warn you in advance, Season 4 is the most depressing season.
Yeah.
You remember Season 6 of Buffy and how happy it was?
Oh, yeah.
That's basically this.
Like, on the one hand, I sort of question, oh God, why is it that it has to be like that? And then I remember that a decent amount of other particular series kind of typically go through that sort of phase. So it's like, oh yeah, no, this makes sense.
And I'm gonna warn you, some fucked up stuff's gonna happen this year.
Hooray! Just like that one particular kid from the cartoon show, I'm gonna be traumatized.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Alrighty. So, if we have nothing else to add about this episode, next week we'll be discussing the episode Ground State. Alright, so in this episode, Angel's search for Cordelia takes him to Wesley, now an independent demon hunter / killer with his own gang. He refers Angel to a demigoddess named Dinza, who tells him that he can find Cordelia by using a talisman called the Axis of Pythia. Angel soon crosses paths with Gwen Raider, a name you're going to want to remember. A highly paid professional thief who can kill a person or disable electronics by projecting electrical pulses. Gwen is seeking the same talisman for her employer, Elliot. Angel and Gwen steal the Axis together, and Angel learns Cordelia's fate. So that will be next week. And things are going to get... Well, they're going to get worse before they get better. Huh? I'm going to just tell you now.
Yeah.
So until next time, I'm Paul.
And I'm Dave.